Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, friends and colleagues. Here we are again, another episode, and this is a very, very special one. We've got Nadia Dunn with us here today, and I certainly hope she doesn't feel that she has been by the end of it. But she's a character in her own right. She's a freelance producer, presenter, and whilst we were warming up this morning, she's also a great singer and whistler. So who knows, we might have to have a little bit of that later on. Now, Nadia's been 17 years in media, 7.5 years in logistics, and she's well known with regards to some of the presentations that take place in our industry and also the conferences. A little touchy point, but we'll come to it later. She's also going to explain to us about cosmetic surgery on big toes, but we'll cover that later. So, Nadia, great to have you. Really appreciate it. First question I ask everybody, why did you come on the podcast?
Well, initially it's because, being truly honest, just because I like you and you asked me if I wanted to come on. I think you're great fun, so I wanted to come and have another laugh, because at all of the shows we always end up having a laugh and you do something silly and embarrass me, and it's always quite funny. So I thought I'd just go through that again and come and have a little chat.
Right, Salem, please roll that over and over and over again. So for all my family, friends and everybody out there, I am fun. Okay, got it. Brilliant.
He is fun, honestly. And secondly, you talked about ladies in logistics. So I thought it was important to kind of spread the word about ladies being in the industry and trying to entice more people to join.
Brilliant. Now, how it came about, apart from I also like you and you're also fun, and maybe we'll tell a few stories later on about a couple of interviews. But ironically enough, we started these podcasts and it was to get to know the people behind the position. And we've had some great characters on, and the recent ones that have just gone out, every single one of them mentions ladies that have either influenced them, have been fantastic workers, or have just looked at the business from a different perspective. So we said we should do a special series on ladies in logistics, and off the top of my head, I could probably rattle off 12 to 15 that I know and I've worked with. They're absolutely fantastic. So what we wanted to do is get somebody who's had a bird's eye view of the industry. So you've been up on the stage giving awards to probably all the big companies and all the big categories. And the big question is, you must also feel a little bit isolated because you don't have many ladies up on the stage with you.
It's definitely a man's world. And yeah, you maybe see on that stage at the end when there's 10 or 12 people up there, there's probably one woman, I think, in all of the awards I've done. There's maybe two women coming to collect them. So yeah, it needs to be something that we look at and try and change and do something about. And you know, there's been lots of talk about it in the last few years at different shows that I've been to. So I think people are trying to make a difference, and it's just about finding the right way to make it happen, I suppose.
Yeah, and just to let everybody know, I mean, there's a lot of political correctness and all, and I'm not into that. Everybody has a chance. Everybody should be given the same amount of respect, and everybody should just enjoy what they're doing. Doesn't matter who they are. It's like different positions in a team. We're also doing a series on getting youngsters into the business and what do the youngsters feel about it, because you know, a lot of us, myself included, we're on the way out.
Yeah.
And you need to bring fresh blood, fresh ideas, especially with the way the world's changing at the moment. So it's not about being politically correct. So we're not trying to copy any movement or whatever. It's just ladies are good at what they do, and especially in logistics. So what we want to do now is we really want to try and push that and make some people sit up and think, you know, why haven't we? But not because it's because of a quota or a ratio or whatever, like some of these political parties who just take it way overboard.
Yeah.
It should be because people are good, they're treated fairly, treated the same, and they deserve the chance.
Yeah. And it's a fact, you know, when you look at the industry, there aren't as many women. So by talking about ladies in logistics and really trying to make a beeline for bringing more people in, then, you know, it's just fact. That's what we're trying to do. And we're trying to make ladies in logistics a thing so that there are people in the industry, because there is a severe lack of women in the industry. So.
Yeah. So now you've done loads and loads of interviews. All right. So just a little bit of background. If you can just tell people what do you actually do, not in the media, but You can also mention about your trip to Love Island.
Yeah.
So they can see the different sides of where you get involved.
Yeah, so it was weird being on the other side and having to answer questions. Normally I'm the one asking them and in control, so I feel a bit out of my depth here. It's quite funny. So yeah, I present awards ceremonies and I interview people, and I also produce interviews or produce videos, corporate videos or for the BBC. I direct programmes. At the BBC, I've directed a piece with the Queen where she came and watched a live lounge. So, there's lots of from celebrities on Love Island doing an interview to
You think we could get her on?
royalty. She said she's busy, actually. I did ask her.
Yeah, pull a few strings, yeah?
Yeah. Maybe get Charles.
No,
He's a joker.
Yeah, but I prefer to get the Queen
You
on.
want to go to the
No, I think
the top.
she's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, I like the royals.
Yeah.
And Harry and Meghan, love them too.
Yeah.
Fan?
I like them all.
Yeah.
I think it's part of the flag. And especially when you live abroad, as much as I done, you start to appreciate it more.
Yeah.
And it's something that others, everybody else around the world, they envy it.
Yeah.
So why are so many people bad mouthing it in this country? Should be proud of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so that's what I do. That's how I got into it. But I started doing the award ceremonies, and then from there we decided to start interviewing people at the shows about certain things that they wanted to get across while we were at the shows, and any breaking news or such. And that's how it kind of started, really, and just went on from there. And now going around the world. Last year went to Toronto. That was a really great show. So yeah.
So when you interview the people, right, you've got your little, you've got your format, and there's a few things that you have to ask. How challenging is it sometimes?
Oh, sometimes it's really difficult, especially if their English isn't great, because I only speak English, unfortunately. Lots of people speak other languages, and, maybe English isn't their first language. So when you're having an interview and they don't really get it, they maybe haven't prepped, so they're not sure what it's about, and you're then trying to talk to them about what they want from the show or what important things are happening in their company, and they just don't get it. They don't get why you're asking them the questions. They don't really understand the questions, and they don't know how to answer in English either. So it's really tough.
But as somebody who speaks 5 languages myself,
do you actually?
It's what do you mean? Do I actually? But you respect then how difficult it is for everybody else, and English is the language of the logistics world. But I give them such credit. I mean, some of the people, the way they can communicate in English is incredible.
It makes me feel silly that I can't speak other languages. So they're there being able to speak 5 or whatever, and I can't even conduct an interview in English because I can't, I can't speak to them in anything else. So it makes me feel silly, not them. They're obviously extremely talented and whatever. So yeah, they're really tough. Or people that are just a bit boring or quiet and don't really like being on camera. So you try and warm to their funny side, or just have a bit of banter with them, and you just can't get anything from them, so it ends up being a really boring interview.
But I really, there's not many people like myself in the business who can speak 5 or 6 languages, but it's a great. Like my daughter, we lived in Madrid for 6 years, and we put Gabby in a Spanish school, and it is fantastic, and I just love listening to her now. Yeah, talking in Spanish, it's absolutely superb.
I'd love to do that as well for my son and for me. I'd really like to learn a second language.
Oh, it's brilliant. You should do it. Do it. I've had such fun out of learning all these languages.
You cannot speak 6 languages.
Well, later on, it's a shame you can't, because we could have done a little bit of this in whichever language you could speak.
Is one of them German?
Mein Deutsch ist nicht sehr gut. Ein bisschen.
Okay, what's your best one?
Best one, I would say, is probably Cantonese.
Oh, damn it.
You know a little bit of Cantonese?
Oh.
No? No? You sure?
No. Yeah. I was going to try and test you with a couple of German phrases.
Don't worry about that. Now, getting back to you.
Yeah.
Now, one of the interviews I remember we had, and it was very little prep, but you do come across with the right questions and the right ideas and everything. How close to what's happening do you think the people are at these conferences?
Close as in
like so obviously you've got a picture of what's going on in the world as well. So you read up on that, you've got the magazines and things like that. So you're looking at that. When you're actually interviewing the people, are you feeling that they're talking with wisdom, with foresight, with a balance of how they are going to affect things, how they're going to respond to things, how they're going to protect their business with everything that's going on around the world? Because where we are in logistics, it's like an alligator. You see the head coming at you, and then if you're lucky enough, it misses you, and then the recession and all the problems start coming around with the whip of the tail. And if you're not prepared, it just boom.
Yeah. I think a lot of them are. It depends who you're speaking to, but a lot of the time there's so many politics within the industry, it seems, that if they haven't prepared, they're very worried about what they're going to say. And a lot of the time they'll have a PR person with them, and they'll kind of keep checking with them off camera if they're allowed to be saying it, which obviously makes it a difficult interview because they're not going to relax. So they're not going to have a chat with you like they're, as a conversation.
Yeah.
So that's difficult. But if you kind of ask someone or prep them before, so that, look, this is what we're going to talk about. I want to know your views and your opinions rather than what you're meant to say.
Yep.
Then that's when you get to the crux of what you want to know. You want someone to talk about it from the heart, I guess, depending on what the issue is, rather than, this script that they've been given by their marketing department, which they're then trying to learn and stumble on the words because they're trying to read it as a script, which is,
terrible,
it's impossible. Yeah. You never get the best out of someone like that.
Yeah, the business is very regulated, and obviously everybody has to adhere to that. And there's reputations and company profiles. But don't you think that people should have a little bit more character and a little bit more spontaneity and actually understand what's going on and want to be free to speak if they're asked a question?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's when, like I said, you get the best out of them, and when you get the most information, because they're in the industry. Of course they know about all of the issues, and if they're as high up as they usually are when we're doing those kind of interviews, then they do know everything that's going on. And if you tell them to put the script away and actually talk about what they know, then you have a free-flowing interview and you find out loads of stuff. And yeah, I know that you have got to be careful with certain things that you say, and you don't want to upset people, and you want to make sure that the company comes out in the best light. But at the same time, you need to be able to have a conversation and talk about what you think and let us know more.
Yeah, and be free to ask something that you think's a little bit on the edge. But
yeah.
Now, when's the next conference or award ceremony you've got?
I am working with NAP in September for a time critical logistics meeting. That's in Amsterdam. So I'm going to work with them and present their seminar on the 25th, I think.
25th of this month?
Yeah.
Of September?
Yeah, September, yeah.
Okay, brilliant. How do you think we can get this particular topic or this particular subject matter into interviews, awards, etc., without making it look as if it's, like I said, a politically correct movement?
Do you mean the women in logistics and the age thing? Yeah. Well, that's something that we've been trying to do when I've done the Azura videos at different trade shows. It's something that we've added on at the end of interviews as like an extra question about getting younger people into the industry and about women in logistics, just to kind of get a rough view of how people see it and if people think there is anything we can do about it. And it's interesting because it's something that when you have that structured interview about what do you think are the main issues in the industry at the moment, and that's when people are a bit stumped because they're worried about what they're talking about. Whereas when we put this last question in, which they're not expecting, it's something that actually they can talk about freely. And we end up getting so much information, and people have said, yes, there is a lack of women around, and yes, we definitely need to get younger people in. So, and you end up getting, a 5-minute chat with someone because it is something that they feel quite strongly about, especially the younger people in logistics. And ECS did something recently where they ran a campaign to get people in, and people had to apply and
they did projects,
produce a video. Yeah, projects and videos, and it was really good. And they had a lot of applicants, and I think that hopefully will get people in, and it'll prove successful, and that maybe run it again.
No, I think it was good. And Adrian, he's like a film actor himself, isn't he? So everything's polished. It's all good. It's a little bit like his Paul Newman eyes. He does it, and he looks at people, and everybody's yeah.
Those eyes are dangerous.
Yeah, but he's good. He's quality.
But he's good. He does look like he's from Hollywood, and he should be in the video.
Yeah. And the only problem is the French rugby team aren't doing too well. So I'm looking forward to seeing him either before or after the World Cup. I think the French have got a bit of a problem there.
Yeah, they've got problems ahead.
No, but he's a class act. He does well. Now, if I was to ask you, and if people were at university now, or they were at sixth form colleges, or they were just wondering what to do, what would you say to youngsters, or especially young ladies? What would you say is the reason why they should come into this logistics business?
That's tough.
Especially now looking at it from your perspective. And like I said, seeing so many good people and so many, I would say, I don't know, I'm trying to think. Yeah, that's about it. Yeah, we'd have to beep it out. Yeah.
Yeah.
But what would you say is why would you say you should go and give it a crack?
Well, I've been doing it for, about 7.5 years, I think I told you. And there's just so many good people and fun people. I love it. Like the shows that we go to and the awards that I present, it's always so much fun. And I kind of find after the event, I'm like, I might email that person because, it'd be nice to keep in touch. And so that's the kind of fun side and the social side of it. The other side of it, I've found it interesting in terms of I've done some shoots at airports and in planes and seen cargo that I had no idea could, like boxes that they put lions in, and as an example, that I would never imagine. I never had any idea how that kind of thing happens, or about how they transport flowers, and it's just so interesting. It's something that you would never, ever think about. And it's just another side that I want to know more about. And I think other people, if they knew like the intricacies of it all, would want to know more about it.
Yeah, and it touches the whole world.
Yeah, exactly.
Everything that comes from somewhere, goes somewhere, people want, people have. You touch everything.
Yeah.
Which is the interest level.
And that's the other thing, is that you get to travel a lot.
Yes.
And you can kind of choose, I guess, in certain senses, that you can travel as much as you want to a certain degree, and you get to see the world. And you're in a plane traveling to a show in Toronto, knowing that they've got 3 tons of flowers, or some, maybe not that many, but there's the belly of the plane has got all this crazy stuff that you wouldn't even think, and you're just sat in your chair having a gin.
Yeah, and bellies being a term that's used in the industry, unless it was as we started this morning with my button popping open and you telling me your belly's hanging out.
Yeah.
But it's so interesting, and if youngsters just knew how you could map your own career. Now, that's a little bit of a teaser to get them in, but I want to ask you another thing now, and you're a lot younger than me, so you're probably closer to this particular issue. Social media and patience. Okay, I see a lot of really good youngsters coming in, and what I try and tell them is, look, yes, you can get everything you want off of a website, Google, whatever, and you can get an idea. But what you've got to do, you've got to be patient. You mustn't be expecting things so quickly. And the firmer your foundation, the better the opportunities you're going to have to travel, to get into different parts, whether you're going farmer, whether you go on the ramp, whether you're on weight and balance, to be able to trim an aircraft and know that you have done that distribution of weight, and you watch the aircraft take off. You get such a feeling of pride, and then also to see that things are loaded properly, whatever it is, treating people nicely at when they're first received on the desks, whatever. Okay, so that's the really good side of it. But they want things too quickly. Now, what do you think about the social media side and about the pressures, and people aren't content? And what I find is so many of the youngsters, they say, yeah, but And they're always but
Well,
not understanding why.
social media is a tough one because it brings with it so much pressure in so many different ways to young and old people, whoever's using it. So I think in a way it's great because it's opened up a whole another department essentially for younger people to get into. If that's what, there's so many young people that know the ins and outs of every single social media platform going.
Yep.
So to get into logistics, or one way for them, being experts in that side of it, they can go in that way and start producing and publishing things for the logistics industry through social media. So that's, another way for them to get in. But yes, with it comes pressure that you always want to be the best, usually, I'd say, in what you do. With social media, you're constantly competing, every second. Because before social media, yes, you've always had your competitors, but now you kind of see that in articles, or if you ring someone from the next office or whatever, you have your competition. Whereas social media, you literally have it on your phone every second. Someone's published a post of their latest gadget or whatever, and it's tough because I feel like it brings an element of always not feeling good enough.
Yep.
And that's in so many different ways, in logistics, in your career, but also personally, it strikes everyone. But there are good things to it, like I was saying, about being able to get into the industry in that way and use their expertise to kind of spread across it. So, and there are younger people that know it so much better and can use it to enhance the industry.
Yep.
So, bring those people in, because I don't use it to its capacity enough, and I'm sure you probably don't. So we need those people to come in.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
And show us how to use it.
Yeah. No, I agree with it. And that's the point. And you see in the people, there's loads of different ways people can come into this industry and pull it up, bring it up. But they've also got to be patient and realise that there is a huge change, and not be so intimidated by this social media. PPI ended last night. That was it, cut-off time.
Yeah.
And I think within the next 10 years, there's going to be something around social media with everybody going cuckoo and flipping and not being content with what they've got, but thinking they should be looking at what somebody else has and why haven't I got it? So I think it's going to be very, very, very traumatic. Now, coming back to something a little bit more lighthearted, I never knew that you could have cosmetic surgery on your toes, your big toes. So I'm sure everybody would be interested to know that you can actually sculpt big toes now to look like celebrities. So explain what happened.
Oh dear. Well, there is an ongoing joke with my friends that I have funny toes. So they've found this whole experience great. So last week, basically, I dropped a very large, heavy box from a height onto... They landed on both my big toes and nothing else.
Yeah, but they are 8 inches long, aren't they?
You can't miss them.
So you're never going to damage your nose walking into a door.
But yeah, it was really painful. There was a lot of blood and I passed out and an ambulance was called. So yeah, but it was funny because I felt really dramatic while, I love a bit of drama anyway, but as I was feeling a bit woozy, I was sat with someone and I was going, oh, please don't leave me. Please don't leave me. And it was just really silly. So looking back, I need to...
And who was that person?
Oh, just a friend.
Oh, right, okay. So it was real rare. And now, okay, so your tap dancing will eventually resume at one point.
Yeah.
But now the Love Island, because
yes.
that's what an unreal, that's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah, that's, so that is, obviously it's got really, the figures have grown a lot over the years. And again, social media has helped that, and Instagram, people are always talking about it.
And your partner's a decent fella, obviously, because he's a Brentford supporter.
He is, yeah.
He's a bees man.
Yeah, we took our son Jude to his first Brentford match 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
When they played Birmingham, yeah. And they, as you will know, because you're also a Brentford fan, the team walk out to Hey Jude.
Yeah.
So which is one of the reasons that our son is called Jude. But he was really confused as
why they
were singing his name. Yeah.
Oh, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. Yeah. Now, getting back, or a little bit of a mix with Love Island and the logistics business, how do you think the figures would be if you had to pick a group from the current logistics business to be on a logistics Love Island?
Oh, I think it should be done. We've got to do that.
Yeah?
Because...
So, obviously, Adrian would be on there, wouldn't he?
Oh, yeah, he'd definitely be there. Oh, who else would be there? Christos. Christos Spiro. Yeah, I'd put him in there. And there's a lady from Amerijet. I can't remember her name, but she's so much fun. I'd put her in as well. There's a lady from Schiphol as well. What's her name? Anyway, can't remember her name. I'll think of it later. But yeah, that would be brilliant. And that's what it needs, because everyone loves the show. But people always say to me, we need people that are a bit more normal. You know, like not a size 6 model or a guy who goes to the gym 3 times a day every day. You know, we need someone.
You're looking at me now, yeah. So I'm gone.
I definitely would put you in. And the dad bod is in. And there's so many people.
Now, hold on a second. Just because I focused on the toes.
I've got to get you back.
And this is a granddad bod now.
The granddad bod is in.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it would really work because it's more relatable. You know,
but can you imagine doing it? I mean, not for the love interest and all that sort of stuff, but doing it to see which couple could actually hit it off with a logistics strategy or a logistics outcome, or
so
just for 1 week.
So their challenges are around logistics,
all around logistics, and making the best match and having a full supply chain worked out.
Wow, yeah! Imagine the collaborations that would happen.
Yeah,
I think we should.
We should try
offer it up.
Put it forward. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now we've had a couple of interviews. Now you must have had some, and like we've done here, myself and Silent, we've absolutely wet ourselves sometimes with some of the things that have happened. But you must have had some funny instances when you've been interviewing and.
Oh, I mean, they're usually with you because you normally do something silly and embarrass me, and then I lose what I'm talking about, and we have to restart. There's been a couple where it's gone so bad because they can't understand me that we've kind of had to say, okay, I think maybe we'll come back and do this another time.
But you don't go back there.
No, we'll leave that one. What else? Funny interviews.
See?
Oh, do you know what one? I mean, this isn't a logistics one. I'll think of a logistics one, but just before that. I was doing an interview with Marilyn Manson.
Oh, right.
And he came in and was really drunk. He was really late at first. Yeah. And actually, I don't know if you remember in Friends where Monica has a turkey on her head.
Yes.
And she does that silly dance.
Yes.
For some reason, we had one of those in the studio. So I had the turkey on my head trying to do the silly dance. And then all I heard was, "What is she doing with a turkey on her head?" And I slowly pulled the turkey up, and Marilyn Manson was stood there, and he was like, yeah, very drunk. Anyway, so we went on to do the interview, and he just started throwing cocktail sausages at me, in the middle of the interview, trying to put me off. So I'm glad that you're not doing that this time.
No, I fancy a cocktail sausage, but I'm worried about the granddad bod.
So yeah, that was probably the weirdest one I've done.
But it's crazy, isn't it? How some people, they perform or they collapse, don't they? Just because there's a mic or a camera on them.
Yeah, or it makes them want to perform more, hence adding to the interview by throwing some cocktail sausages.
Sausages, I have to think about that. That might go down well on the WFS stand.
Yeah.
They're normally the providers of food,
aren't they? Exactly. They've always got a good buffet.
Yeah, no, they do, don't they? We should mention Michael.
Yes.
Michael.
Lovely Michael, yeah.
Yeah, and he is. He's a lovely fellow. I met with him the other week, and we had breakfast, and he puts an awful lot of effort and he's written a couple of books, and he's writing another one, and he's a lovely, lovely gentleman.
Yeah, he is.
So
yeah.
I think we should mention him, and he tirelessly, doesn't he? He
Yeah.
travels all over the place.
Yeah.
He puts himself up there.
Yeah, he's brilliant to work with. He just, acts like he's still in his 20s. And I don't actually know how old he is, but, he just goes full pelt, always prepping before shows, doing so much work ahead of them. And during the shows, he's off mingling around with everyone, trying to add to his book. He's great. He loves it as well. He enjoys the social side, and yeah, he's been in logistics for so many years. He breathes it.
But you said something there now, which is so important. He enjoys it.
Yeah.
And the thing that I just cannot get, no matter where you're working, what you're doing, if you don't have a purpose, you don't use the most valuable asset of any human being, which is your time.
Yeah.
Now, candid opinion, do you think the majority of people you see at these events are actually enjoying what they're doing?
I think it's a difficult one at the shows, because I feel like at those events, everyone is enjoying it because they are a lot of fun. The social element is that, there's stands where you can get a beer and chat to someone. So the people that I meet, they are genuinely having a good time. I think maybe by the end of it, people are ready to get off back to their families or whatever. But I feel like whenever I interview people or chat to them on a stand having a cheeky champagne, then yeah, they're having a good time, and they're managing to get a lot of work done in terms of the meeting people. And that's what it's about, isn't it, at those shows? Yeah. It's the meeting people. Yeah, exactly. Networking.
So just to clear it up, just in case anybody's thinking, you turn up at these shows and all you do is have cheeky champagnes and beers. It's not like that. That's in the very small 5-minute breaks.
It is, exactly. Yeah. I mean, we do not stop working.
Exactly.
But to network and to be able to enjoy yourself, we allow ourselves at the end of the day a cheeky little champagne.
Exactly. Where I'm coming from is, when you're talking to the people, do you find that they're still engaged and full of enthusiasm, or they're contemplating on the problems and the challenges more?
I mean, there's a few people that I meet where their companies have had certain issues at the time, and you can tell that their mind is elsewhere. But the majority of people I meet, I have found that they're managing to network and enjoy the event and having a productive time. And
now let's mention a few. Which are the stands that you like to attend yourself? So let's give a little boost to them. No problem. We're all freelance now, so.
So my favourite is Virgin, because they serve Laurent Perrier. And then Brussels, I love. Brussels, I love because there's always really fun people there.
Yeah, Steve Pullman.
Yeah, I love Steve.
He's great, isn't he?
Really good fun.
Yeah.
So, if you're having a tough day and it's been really busy, you know that you can head there and you'll find someone that you can have a little chat with, and they'll
yeah. And when you talk about Virgin, you talk about the John Lloyd days.
I don't know John Lloyd.
You don't know John?
No.
Oh, he's with Air Canada now. He's a good lad. He's a nice fella.
I can't remember the name of the lady. Karen. I think Karen at Virgin. Yeah. I don't actually know many people. I haven't really worked with them. I just go there for a quick break.
Yeah. But they really do push the boat out.
Yeah.
And all credit to them. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it is. It's always a really good. I want to say stall, but that's not what theirs is.
No, you shouldn't call it stall. No,
theirs is not a stall.
No, most definitely not. And which venue do you enjoy the most?
Munich is great because I've been to Munich quite a few times, so I feel like I know it quite well. But Toronto last year was brilliant, and it was just I'd never been. I enjoyed the people that were there, and yeah, I got to go to Niagara Falls on an off day. And so, yeah, that was a great one for me. But in terms of somewhere that I like going back to, Munich's brilliant. I am really looking forward to Miami, though. That's
When's that?
Messe München have taken over.
Yes.
So that's next year. Yeah. And they're going to be there ongoing. So
wow, that'll be a big one, won't it?
Yeah, so it should be
anything
good.
like Munich.
Yeah, and because it's the first one, I imagine it'll be even bigger. And their conference centre's just been finished, so and it leads straight out onto the beach. So I'm sure that'll be a good one that people look forward to.
My goodness me! If you've done nothing on today's podcast, what you've actually done now is, if there's any youngsters or ladies who want to get into logistics and they're going for interviews or they're thinking of applying for jobs, I think they'll be thinking to themselves, I'll be going on 5 or 6 conferences a year. I'm going to go to Toronto, Miami. I'm going to have Perrier. I'm going to have whatever.
Come and join me.
And now they know that they have to go straight to Steve Pullman's and the Virgin stand, and they'll get a little bit of quality food at WFS.
Yeah.
So they've got it all mapped out.
Yeah, they know the places to go.
Yeah, but seriously, I'm joking aside. It's not like that all the time. But what it does show is that if you do get into any part of logistics, you've got the opportunity to go anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it doesn't matter what language, what culture, where you are, what you're doing with an aircraft. And if everybody who travels, and most people now have travelled on an aircraft at least once a year when they go on holiday, if they understand that when that aircraft is on the ground, there is so many things happening, all associated with that aircraft.
Yeah.
From checking in, ticketing, baggage, catering, fueling, de-icing, safety issues, security issues, audit, limited areas, restricted areas, all the different transportation.
Oh, do you know what? I did a shoot in Spain, in Vitoria, earlier this year, and one of the bits we went to a DHL warehouse. Yeah. And that for me was amazing in itself, because that's something that directly affects me, in that, you know, possibly my packages were going past on the travelators. Don't know what
this is the technical terms you're using. It's
know.
Very easy to see that you've had 7.5 years in this business.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
So yeah, you know, that things like that happening, and this was all at about midnight or 1 a.m. There's their busiest times, and seeing all the packages go round, and then the huge crates going on to.
Are you sure you're seeing the packages go round?
Yeah.
This is before or after you've had the champagne evening.
Oh yeah, sorry. That day I didn't have any.
Around.
And then I went up to one of the cargo planes, and to see that. You know, I've never seen anything other than a passenger jet or plane, and yeah, amazing.
But isn't it though?
It really is. Yeah, that's what I mean. Honestly, I have never seen anything like that, and to be able to see it, you know, I never thought I'd see it, and I've somehow ended up in the logistics industry, and I get to see things like that, and I want to know more. I want to know about where they store the elephants, or where they store the diamonds, or where they store my shoes.
What an interesting, the 3 things you've picked there. Elephants, and I'm thinking that's because you're sitting opposite me. Diamonds, I'm not sure. That's obviously Adrian's eyes. And shoes, it's going to be a long time till you're going to put a pair of shoes on with toes like that, I'll tell you.
They're going to be really long shoes.
Yeah. Yeah. No, amazing. Now, talking about the e-commerce and DHL, and they're fantastic what they do. E-commerce is going crazy now, okay? So everybody thinks they know what it is, thinks they know what to do with it. Let me ask you something seriously now. What's your return ratio?
What is in terms of how many times a month?
No, if you like, in terms of how many times a month? Oh my God. Now, what I'm saying is, all the stuff you buy.
Yeah.
What's your return rate?
The thing is, I don't like shopping.
No, don't be making excuses now.
So
this is like my wife Kathy and Gabby. It's the same sort of thing. I'll just ask you a straightforward question. What's your return rate?
I would say that I return something at least once every other week.
And now, thinking about business, right? So you've got the convenience of shopping online. Somebody packs that in a beautiful box and carton, and then it gets delivered to you. Another person drops it off in the vehicle. They politely give it to you at your door. You then take it, fit it on in the comfort of your own home. Package goes left, right, whatever. You've got a brown pair, a blue pair, and a green pair. And then you decide, maybe I'll go for a cream pair. And you send all that back, not in its good packaging and stuff. Now, that's the convenience element. But you imagine now what happens with that side of the business. How do they deal with all the stuff that's going back, the cost of it, the repackaging, where it goes? It's incredible, isn't it?
Well, this is the thing. When I was at that warehouse, that is what made me think about it. That, you know, and also I was in another warehouse, CCL. Do you know CCL? I was in their warehouse and looking at DDU consignments, and they have, you know, different parts to their warehouse where things had been returned, and they, you know, and just, it does make you think, oh God, I should stop doing that, and because it's causing someone a huge amount of work. But then I guess it's keeping them in business.
Yeah, that's the way out. That's the way out of it. But seriously though, you know, some of the return rates are so high.
Yeah.
In certain countries, cultures, etc. And you know, the waste that goes on with it.
Yeah, it's frightening.
It's terrible, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is.
And yeah, that's a little subject matter there. So now, what do you think about the competence levels, right? So we spoke about all the things that happen in the business around an aircraft. So obviously there's so much safety, so much security, so much training everybody has. What's your impression of the capabilities or the competencies in the business?
Well, it seems like information technology that they keep talking about that. That's worryingly taking over a lot of, you know, people competencies at the moment. And I don't know if that's, I don't know enough about it, but I don't know if that's a worry for a lot of people, that I guess as in lots of other industries that IT is going to take over quite a few jobs. But I mean, in general, competencies, I don't know. What do you mean in terms of like?
Well, if you go to a hospital, okay, and you've had first experience at a hospital as an end user or a customer, you expect certain things, don't you?
Yeah.
And there's always things that annoy people. If you go to A&E, you always get somebody there who goes, name, that, and they're not even looking. You might have an arm falling off, you know. But you expect a certain degree of capability and competency whenever you're in an operating theatre or you see a doctor or whatever. That's expected. When you're on an aircraft and you're sitting there, and most people pay no attention to the safety announcements, and if they're still on their phones last few minutes, paper, etc. But they expect that plane's going to take off, it's going to land, and everybody that's on there is fully capable and competent. Now, when you look, and you were at the DHL building, and not to focus on DHL, but in general terms, how did the people appear to be capable of doing the jobs that they were doing, and how competent they were? Well,
the bits that I see, everyone's always on at the top of their game because
you've got a camera on your shoulder.
Yeah, exactly, because we're filming there. So it's a difficult question, really, because from my point of view, when I see stuff, it's always great and it's very polished, and you know, they've got their top people in to work in the warehouse or be at the front desk or whatever. So it is difficult. From my point of view, I always see the best, and hopefully that it is the best. And you know, that from what I see, the industry's going up and up, because I think that it did go through a bad time in the last couple of years. But from chatting to people at the recent events, everything seems to be getting a bit better, and so hopefully, where I see that it is great and everyone is at the top of their game and doing the best they can, that, you know, that is industry standard.
I think at your next one, you're going to see that people are very worried about what's happening now.
It's going back.
Oof.
Really?
Yeah, there's a lot of problems now. Yeah, a lot of problems. Now, coming back to the filming, a little bit like a Love Island or a you know, a Fly on the Wall or whatever. Have you guys ever done something like that? So, you know, like you see these football clubs now, and they allow the camera to be in the changing rooms and see exactly what's going on. Mm-hmm. Have you guys ever done anything like that in a particular logistics environment?
No, we've not actually, but that is something to think about. You know, maybe a couple of workshops that that are being run, it might be quite interesting to put them up.
Because you see these programs, like you see customs, there's documentaries, or airports and stuff,
Yeah.
and I think it's good entertainment.
Yeah.
But as far as actually seeing what people have to do across the whole supply chain, do you think there's any mileage in that?
Yeah, definitely. I think people would want to see it. And again, as we were talking about women in logistics and getting young people in, maybe seeing that journey from start to finish.
And seeing what they do and everything.
Yeah. And maybe that is something for the next show, that we could run something like that, so that you kind of film it ahead of time.
Yep.
And then so that companies bring in their newest recruits or people that are potentially joining, and we show
see
them
what they
this
do
video.
in real life, according
From
to
start
the
finish.
process. Yeah,
exactly. And because then they get to see both sides, so you get to see, the professional side of it, and this is what we do, and this is why we're doing it, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And then you get the social side, the networking, and at the actual event. So
yeah. And I remember when I first started in Lufthansa, there was a strike, and the company that was handling us, they went on strike. So the Lufthansa management decided to bring all the Lufthansa people in from everywhere and see if we could do it ourselves. And we were allowed to do our own baggage handling and our own loading on the aircraft. Had to be trained, obviously, and pass the test. So we did that for ages. I loved it. But what I seen then is there was a lot of ladies then who were doing weight and balance, and they were in their protective footwear, which maybe that's something that you should actually invest in the future, a pair of metal toe caps. But they were in their protective wear. They were on the aircraft. They were fantastic. And I remember, actually, like thinking back on it now, they always seemed more focused and more organised. And I'm not just generalising now or trying to be popular with the female colleagues, but they always genuinely seemed more organised, more structured. I remember that now. So, do you know what I mean? And that's going back to the mid '80s.
And are there still less people doing that now, or
no? It is there now, but I just think, like I said, I think people fall into it. They fall into a career at an airport because they either live near it, not sure what to do. They know somebody, they get in. But so many people we've spoken to, they went in, but they didn't know where they were going, and they've ended up going all over the place, and they've loved it. So I just think if people could see some of those storylines, or they could see what it's like behind the scenes, because it is different.
Yeah.
Lots of people don't want to be stuck at a desk all the time in front of one of these bloody laptops, or they don't want to do that.
Yeah.
And if you want to mingle and meet people and have different things to consider, if they could see it, I think that would be a much better way to get people in. And then, I remember when I was at school and we were taken for career trips, they always took us to either a factory that was close by, or they used to take us to, I can't even remember the word now, for doing ordnance survey maps.
Oh yeah, like a country park or something.
No, it was something when you did the drawings, and I can't remember what it was called now. It was like, because we did technical drawing at school, I can't remember.
Right.
Somebody will tell me what it is. But they were always specific. They were never things that would let your mind wander and say, do you know something? I could do that for a few years. Then I could go and live in America, and I could do the same thing because I've got a skill that I can transfer. And because a lot of people in the industry don't have degrees, they don't have masters, etc., but they forget that if they've done 3 or 4 years in a particular area, they've actually developed a skill that's transferable globally.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I was saying I never would have imagined that I would have been able to see a cargo plane or be in one of those warehouses. And, like you're saying, when you went off in your work experience or whatever, we were given a map in a country park and just had to, you were given to see your survival skills for the day or whatever, or you go to Sainsbury's and you test out working on the checkouts. That's it. That's all the experience you got. And then they said, right, what do you want to do then? Yeah. So never would you think, oh, maybe I want to be in TV, or maybe I want to work in logistics industry. I think people need to see more what it's about.
Yeah.
And there's just a lack of that vision, I think. And maybe it's a case of filming a pharmaceutical package from start to finish and showing them where it goes along the way, or other.
That's it. Or you mentioned supermarkets, and people are a little bit. They say things about checkouts and stuff, but again, the way you treat people and the way you give service keeps that company having the same customers coming back. But the supermarkets are classic because they're so good now at checking their produce, inventory. They know exactly what to get, when to get it, how it needs to come. I think some of the adverts now, especially Lidl, I mean, they're doing a great job.
Yeah.
It's amazing, and that's all part of logistics as well.
Yeah.
So, how many times have you ever made a mistake and somebody has supported you or mentored you or coached you?
Oh, God, I can't count. I've made loads of mistakes. I think that's the whole part of learning, isn't it? Yeah, if you don't make the mistakes, and that's in a a personal level as well as a professional level, that you've got to make those mistakes to work out how you move forward. So yeah, and people have helped me. So I basically started in media when I was 17, 18, and basically there was a film crew using our car park as their base, and every day. They were there for a week, and I was doing my A-levels. Every day I'd knock on the caravan door and ask them to work with them. And they would say, no, sorry, you're going to have to stop knocking on the door. And I went home and told my mum, and she's like, oh, maybe, you don't want to make a mistake by pushing too far. And I was like, no, I'm going to do this. So every day I went. And then on the last day, the guy was like, okay, you can come tomorrow for one day, and that's it. And then that's it. I got in, and they asked me to finish the shoot with them. And, on that shoot, I made loads of mistakes, as you do when you started as a runner or whatever. And this one guy that gave me that opportunity, he always used to almost like be my mentor and would say, look, can't do it like that. And also I was 18 and working with celebrities or whatever, and he was like, look, you need to. And I remember one day, actually, he had a word with me about my choice of clothing. When I was 18, I had these little joggers on, tracksuit bottoms and a little T-shirt. And he said, on film sets, maybe you should be a bit more ready to like run about and do stuff like that. So, that stuck with me, that I remember look back now and think, oh my God, what on earth was I wearing? It must have been horrendous. But yeah, like you learn things along the way, and there's those people that help you. And, Michael Sales in this industry, he's been brilliant for me and helped me along the way. And when I make mistakes about the terminology, he's the first one to correct me. And yeah, it's great. You need that. And I want people to be like that, and you want people to be slightly critical, because that's how you get better.
Yeah, and I think, and we're talking about Michael and irrespective of age, but there's a big difference between your age and Michael's.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes people see that as a challenge in both directions. But I think, and I genuinely think it, as people are coming to the end of their career, it's a little bit like a flight. You want a smooth landing. Mm-hmm. You don't want it just suddenly to come down. And I see so many people that are so sad and some bitter, and they're frustrated that their experience can't be passed on to anybody else. And I think if there was a way to do that, and to pair people up, so that it wasn't looking as if somebody older is telling you do this, do that, do the other, but they're actually saying, look, I can give you something now that would take you years to gain, and I want to do it. And I think that's also a little program that should be around. And then the thing you said about making mistakes, I think anybody who's in a senior position, if they haven't made mistakes, is very, very dangerous to follow them, because it's only when you make mistakes that you actually realise and you've got the experience. And sometimes, and in some cultures, people don't know what they don't know, and that's very dangerous, because their egos are
surely they can't be telling the truth if you say that you haven't made any mistakes, because you do. Everyone does. It's just one of those natural things that it happens every now and again.
Yeah, no, exactly. Now, where do you see yourself going? Do you see yourself hitting a decade in logistics?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
I'm going to be in Miami, baby.
Oh no, I can see that. Yeah. So that's gone out now. So there'll be plenty of people trying to get to Miami. But do you think there'll be a change now in the next? So you got another 2.5 years to get there. So do you think there'll be a big change in that 2.5 years? And bear in mind now, there's going to be a problem in the industry. So people are going to cut down on training. They'll be cutting back on employment.
Yeah, I think the change won't be big enough. But I think there'll be a change in the young people and women in the industry. I do think that there'll be more coming in. I don't think there'll be as many as we want, because, as you just said, times are getting harder, budgets are being cut. So the worry is that affects people in that they become bitter, like you were saying, and there's less training, so people aren't as happy. So we're going to see a change that women are coming in, young people are coming in, whether they stay in and whether the industry actually itself just shrinks because it's not as fun a place to work. That's worst case scenario. Yeah. And I guess now it's our job to make sure that doesn't happen, and that no matter how many cuts there are, that we still make it a fun place to be and keep doing the best that we can.
It's like a story. People need a story. And then in every story, it doesn't start with once upon a time and they all lived happily ever after. There's things that go up and down and up and down. So, but as long as you've got a story and a focus, I think that's important.
Focus, absolutely.
Yeah, and if the organisations do realise that there's a bit, and innovation, you need people to think differently, think freshly, and have a no fear in the workplace.
Well, that comes with a fresh new talent, doesn't it?
So now, how are you going to promote that on the next couple of conferences? Seriously now, because I'm going to, if I'm at any of those conferences, I'm going to see now whether when you're on the stage giving out the awards, whether you make a challenge to the organisations that are winning the awards, or whether or not your interviews, or also maybe yourself and Michael putting up a challenge there to some of the companies to see, look, why don't we do a behind the scenes?
Yeah.
Or several companies in the different... you imagine if you had a small snippet of every single company across the whole chain and see how they all operate, but see how they all operate as verticals instead of horizontally across the whole chain, supporting each other, cutting out costs, stopping the repetition, stop making things so complex, realising that you have to do things to make the next person in the relay chain have an easier run, and have that focus. And at the same time, where is the freshness? Where is the new approach?
Yeah, well, I guess
I think there's a box set here.
Yeah, well, we need to. We've got a few we've got Love Island Logistics.
There you go.
And also, like you were saying, the start to finish, watching the product and selling that to another generation to get people in. So there's so many things that can be done, but it's trying to work out how we can do that with very little budget. And I guess you need a company to collaborate with to help you spread the word and make it happen and show people.
Or government or countries, now that you've got connections with the Queen. Do you know what I mean? But somewhere there should be somebody who's able to put certain grants or put something in there to help youngsters, especially coming into an industry that's got such a global impact. And also ladies in logistics. There must be. I mean, that's another reason. Hopefully, some philanthropists, some ladies who are so successful, they say, do you know something? I want to do this.
Yeah. Well, we need to explore that and make sure that it happens rather than, one of those things that just gets talked about. But we need to make it happen.
Yeah. And as far now as our interaction on the interviews, I've always enjoyed them. They've always been fun. You've been so focused and so to the point. I love it then if I can just throw something in that puts you off. And a couple of the bloopers, I think they're good fun. But I've always appreciated your sense of humour, Nadia, seriously, and also how easy you are to interface with. So it's been brilliant. So I hope you've enjoyed the session.
Yeah. I'm surprised you haven't mentioned our text message earlier when I text you saying, when you get sex, can you send me the address?
Well, I'm waiting because that's going to be... I'm thinking whether or not I should take you to court for discriminating... Well, not discriminating, for intimidating me. I read it and I thought, what in God's name are you putting? Sex instead of... What did you meant to say? Text, didn't you?
Sec. When you get a sec.
Sec. When you get a sec, yeah. So you said, I'll think, I'm under pressure again. No, but I'll keep that one.
It'll come back to haunt me.
No, maybe it'll come with a legal letter.
A lawsuit.
A legal letter, yeah. Look what she's been doing, that'll be.
That'll be, don't get women in logistics. Look what they're doing to us.
Look what they do, yes. No. I'll save that one. But seriously, always been a pleasure. You do a great job and you're very, very, very professional. And the awards have got a little bit of difference because of what you're doing. And the next time Omar gets an award, so if he listens to this, he does not know how lucky he was on that day going up on that stage.
Omar Hadidi.
Hariri.
Oh, damn, I got it wrong again.
Don't worry about it. So now when I speak to him here now, I'll say, "Oh, Mr. Hadidi, how are you?"
I was close.
Yeah, very close, yeah. Yeah, no, he's great. His podcast is going out shortly. But what now there's an example of a young man. My God, he's such a top lad. Very capable. He's going to go places. Oh, he's already. I mean, look what he's doing already. He's only about, I think, 37 or 38.
Really?
Yeah, that's what annoys me. He's young enough to be my son, and he used to say, "Do this. Why aren't you doing this?" He used to go. I feel like saying, "I'll get you outside." But no, he's a good man.
Yeah.
So he's good. Right, thank you very much. Really appreciate it. And like I say, we're going to push this out now. And all of the people that have mentioned Ladies in Logistics, we're going to try and get as many on as possible. And to listen to learn to, and to see what their ideas are. And then hopefully there'll be an inspiration for others to come into the business. And we're continuing doing the youngsters. So maybe you'll see something that we're doing with some of the companies or one of the companies at one of the conferences, and then you can make a personal reference to it. And we'll see how your podcast goes out, and obviously we'll be sending it to all cosmetic surgeons for the and we'll also
all help needed.
Yeah, but and who knows, maybe you'll start then a new club, ladies with long toes.
Join me, the social media.
Yeah, join me. We're always there before people see us coming. No, but seriously, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.
All right,
Thanks.
Good luck with everything, and let's do this Logistics Love Island.
See you there.
It'll be good fun, yeah. Probably, mind you, it wouldn't end up. What the location? Where was it this time?
Mallorca.
Yeah, it probably wouldn't be Mallorca, would it? It'd be Manchester Airport, or it'd be somewhere like that. No, well, Manchester. I've done that now. Manchester's a great place. Love Manchester. Fantastic. What a place that would be. But seriously, I think it'd be good fun if we did something like that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Right. Thank you so much.
See you on the other side.
Yes. Yeah. Really appreciate it.
Cheers.
Thanks. Hello again, everybody. Sorry about this little blooper. Just made a cup of tea for Nadia because she felt that we'd done her over, but it's Nadia done again. Now, one of the things that we forgot is every podcast, depending what goes on and what the topic is, that we come up with a name for a book.
God.
So, Nadia, you're one, and I hope you'll see the benefit of it. Tiptoeing through logistics from fun to fact. Okay, so that's going to be yours. That's how you're going to be referenced. Okay, so we've got the toes in there, we've got the fun in there, and we've got those very accurate facts and terminology that you've used in the logistics business. So really appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed the tea, and thank you again.
Cheers, Chris.
All the best.